The standard academic model for the Neolithization of Central Europe relies on a wave. Around 5400 BCE, the linear pottery culture, or LBK, rapidly expanded from east to west, carrying agriculture across the continent. The core assumption underlying this map is rapid demographic replacement. The incoming farmers, bringing domesticated crops and livestock, were thought to have entirely replaced the indigenous Mesolithic hunter-gatherers. But recent archaeological data breaks this model. A strictly Neolithic-centric view fails to explain the anomalies discovered in Middle Neolithic burials across Germany and the Baltic region. By correlating paleogenetics, stable isotope analysis, and personal adornment typologies, researchers have identified that a population's genetic relationship is often decoupled from their cultural orientation. The hunter-gatherer heritage did not vanish into the soil. We can track the survival of this population through three specific metrics: genetic haplogroups, isotopic dietary signatures extracted from bone collagen, and the distinct typology of grave goods. The evidence suggests that Neolithization functioned as a permeable, bidirectional process of hybridization. To see how this hybridization worked, we look at the flat graves at Ostorf-Tannenwerder in northern Germany, dating between 3200 and 2900 BCE. Excavators found distinctive transverse arrowheads and pottery belonging to the funnel beaker culture, known as the TRB. According to traditional ceramic typologies, the presence of TRB pottery strictly classifies this as a Neolithic farming site. The physical evidence inside the burials contradicts this classification. The skeletons were covered in numerous animal tooth ornaments. Isotopic analysis extracted from the bones confirms this divergence. The delta 13C and delta 15N values indicate a diet reliant on freshwater fish, lacking the signature of farmed grains. This highly specialized fish diet triggered a marine reservoir effect, which initially skewed the radiocarbon dating of the site by an average of 400 years. Paleogenetic testing resolved the anomaly. DNA analysis proved that the individuals buried here belonged to a genetically Mesolithic population. This is a peri-Neolithic survival. The group selectively adopted specific Neolithic technologies, like making pottery, without adopting the agrarian economy. Finding a Neolithic pot in a grave is no longer sufficient proof that the occupant was a genetic or economic Neolithic farmer. We see a different kind of adaptation in southwest Germany and the Rhine-Main region, moving back to roughly 5000 BCE. Here, the true adoption of agrarian life was driven by a highly specialized tool, the Schuh-Leistenskeil, or Schuh-Lastkelt. This diagram shows the distinct geometric profile of the Schuh-Leistenkeil. It features a specific D-section and a strict width-to-height ratio that differentiates it from earlier cutting tools. This was the heavy agrarian engine of the era. It was used for massive land clearing, constructing multi-naved houses, and occasionally as a weapon. Yet operating directly alongside this harsh economic reality were the persistent traditions of personal adornment. The findings excavated from the Berghola Dietfort cave site illustrate this persistence. The site yielded massive concentrations of perforated fossil snails, specifically the Gyralis genus, and the pharyngeal teeth of the pearlfish. This specific jewelry typology is not Neolithic. It is a hallmark of the older Buronian Sea and late Mesolithic periods. While the economic engine shifted to Neolithic deforestation and farming, the spiritual and personal adornment traditions remained firmly rooted in the Mesolithic past. This dynamic resulted in an interface culture, best exemplified by the Hinkelstein culture, which takes its name from a local menhir discovered in Monsheim. The Hinkelstein maintained extensive cultural connections across Europe, reaching out of Germany and stretching toward the Mediterranean coast. We can pull specific forensic data from the Hinkelstein cemetery at Trebur. This chart displays the stable isotope analysis of the Trebur remains. The elevated delta 15N and delta 13C values prove a heavily meat-based diet. This confirms they were committed pastoralists and farmers, not foragers. Despite their farming economy, their burial rites departed from the preceding Neolithic LBK traditions. While the LBK buried their dead in a crouched posture, the Hinkelstein laid their dead in a flat supine position. The grave goods buried alongside them confirm this divergence. The graves contain massive amounts of perforated deer canines and fossil snails. These specific ornaments hold explicit spatial and cultural links to the Mesolithic-descended cardial and epicardial cultures of the Western Mediterranean. The Hinkelstein represent a true interface culture, a population that successfully hybridized the agrarian economic engine with deep Mesolithic socio-spiritual practices. This diagram compares the multi-regional evidence through three distinct archaeological archetypes: the Ostorf, the LBK, and the Hinkelstein. Tracking their distinct genetic origins separates the Mesolithic hunter-gatherer from the Anatolian farmer, though the lines inevitably cross into mixed lineages. We then track their economic practices, dividing the data between freshwater fish, farmed grain, and cattle. Finally, we map their cultural markers, specifically pottery typologies. The resulting network severs any assumption of a clean correlation between genetics, diet, and material culture. The Neolithization of Europe cannot be accurately tracked simply by mapping the spread of pottery sherds. The cemetery at Whitmar provides a definitive example of this decoupling. Directly inside graves designated as the Middle Neolithic Russin culture, geneticists identified haplogroup U5, a genetic marker strictly tied to Paleolithic and Mesolithic foragers. Genetic ancestry, economic practice, and collective cultural identity must be treated as independent variables. The transition to agriculture in Europe functioned as a multi-millennia negotiation rather than a simple erasure of the past. Mesolithic heritage never truly vanished. It was explicitly encoded into the physical bodies and burial rites of early farmers, living on as the ghost in the Neolithic machine.